When you think of military power, images of vast armies and cutting-edge technology often spring to mind. We envision nations with seemingly limitless resources and global reach, capable of projecting force anywhere on the planet. The usual giants come to mind: the US, with its unparalleled naval power and global network of bases; Russia, boasting a massive land army and a formidable nuclear arsenal; China. China's People's Liberation Army is a behemoth, a force that appears unstoppable on the world stage. Its numbers and budget dwarf the armed forces of the Philippines, a much smaller and less equipped military. On paper, it's a mismatch, a classic David versus Goliath scenario, seemingly impossible to overcome. A heavyweight versus a featherweight. But wars aren't won on spreadsheets or solely determined by the size of a nation's military budget. The biggest, shiniest army doesn't always win. History is filled with examples of smaller forces triumphing against overwhelming odds. Real power is more nuanced. It's about strategy, adaptability, and the will to fight. Modern conflict is a chess game, not a boxing match. It requires careful planning, strategic thinking, and the ability to anticipate your opponent's moves. The Philippines, despite its size, has unique strengths that can't be measured in raw numbers. These advantages could prove decisive in a conflict. Geography, strategy, alliances, and grit can level the playing field. This isn't about invading Beijing. That's not the goal nor the likely scenario. It's about defending home turf in the South China Sea, protecting its sovereignty and its people. We'll uncover how a smaller nation can be a formidable opponent, capable of defending its interests against a much larger adversary. Sometimes the underdog doesn't need a Death Star. It doesn't need overwhelming firepower to succeed. Just the right tools and the will to use them. A focused and determined defense can be surprisingly effective. Let's see how the Philippines might just surprise us all and demonstrate that size isn't everything in modern warfare. When we think of military might, it's easy to get caught up in numbers. We see rows of tanks, squadrons of jets, and imagine that sheer quantity equals power. But military power isn't just about counting tanks and jets. It's a far more nuanced equation. That's like judging a chef solely by the size of their kitchen. A massive state-of-the-art kitchen doesn't guarantee delicious food. A skilled chef can create culinary masterpieces even in a humble food truck. True capability is a mix. Technology, of course, plays a vital role. Advanced radar systems, cutting-edge weaponry, and sophisticated communication networks are all essential components. But technology alone isn't enough. Strategy, the art of planning and executing military operations, is equally crucial. And beyond that, morale, the spirit and determination of the troops, and adaptability, the ability to adjust to changing circumstances, are key. A billion-dollar bomber, packed with the latest technology, is utterly useless if it can't find its target hidden deep within a dense jungle. Asymmetric warfare is the art of not playing by the big guy's rules. It's about finding innovative ways to level the playing field. You don't out-tank the tank army. That's a losing proposition from the start. Instead, you make their tanks irrelevant by developing strategies and technologies that render them ineffective. Think Hornet's Nest versus Bear, a classic example of asymmetric warfare. The bear is undeniably stronger, possessing immense size and power, but the Hornets, through their sheer numbers and relentless attacks, make victory a painful and costly endeavor. The Philippine military's strength lies in its defensive capabilities, not in projecting offensive power far beyond its borders. It's about making any act of aggression so costly and messy, so fraught with challenges and unexpected setbacks, that the bigger power, despite its superior resources, hesitates to engage. The goal isn't to project force across vast oceans and dominate distant territories, but to defend home territory so fiercely and effectively that potential invaders think twice, carefully weighing the risks and potential losses. This is the power of the porcupine, with its impenetrable coat of quills, the sea urchin, bristling with sharp spines that deter predators, the hornet's nest, a seemingly small and insignificant entity that can unleash a furious swarm upon any aggressor. The Philippines simply cannot outmuscle China in a direct confrontation, but it can outlast and outmaneuver, employing its knowledge of the terrain and its people's resilience to its advantage, redefining power not as brute strength but as unbreakable defense, a shield that cannot be pierced, is the key to understanding the Philippines' real strength and its strategic approach to national security. It's not about overwhelming force and projecting power across vast distances. It's about making every inch of territory a nightmare to take, a quagmire that drains resources and saps the will to fight. That's how the underdog, through clever strategy and unwavering determination, changes the game and defies expectations. And that's why in the complex world of geopolitics and military strategy, size isn't everything. Geography is destiny, and the Philippines hit the jackpot. Over 7,600 islands create a maze of coastlines, reefs, and straits, a nightmare for any invading navy. Big warships struggle in these shallow, unpredictable waters, while local patrol boats thrive. Each island is a potential base or hiding spot, turning the archipelago into a natural fortress. The Philippines acts as a strategic gatekeeper to the Pacific, controlling vital sea lanes. This geography gives immense leverage. Any force in the South China Sea must contend with this barrier. The islands are unsinkable aircraft carriers, offering depth and defense that brute force can't easily overcome. Invaders would face endless challenges, harassed by defenders who know every current and cove. Geography alone makes the Philippines a player no one can ignore. Sometimes, the map is the most powerful weapon. In the complex arena of global politics, cultivating friendships and strategic partnerships is not just beneficial, it's essential for national security and stability. And when it comes to reliable allies, the Philippines has a particularly powerful one in its corner, the United States of America. This alliance is a cornerstone of Philippine foreign policy. The foundation of this enduring partnership is the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty. This treaty is more than just words on paper. It means that an attack on the Philippines could potentially trigger a significant response from the United States, a commitment that carries considerable weight. This robust alliance serves as a massive deterrent to potential aggressors, sending a clear message about the consequences of hostile actions. It forces any would-be aggressor to carefully consider the potential ramifications and think twice before contemplating any action that could jeopardize regional stability. But the Philippines doesn't solely rely on military alliances. It also strategically wields international law as a powerful tool. A prime example of this is the landmark case won against China at The Hague in 2016, a significant legal victory. This ruling effectively undermined the expansive claims made by China in the South China Sea, challenging the legal basis of their territorial assertions. This legal victory served as a catalyst, rallying substantial global support for the Philippines' position. It also reframed the ongoing conflict, presenting it not just as a territorial dispute, but as a fundamental fight for the preservation of the international order and the rule of law. Now, every standoff in the region isn't simply about claiming territory or asserting dominance. It's fundamentally about upholding the principles of global rules-based order and ensuring that international law is respected by all nations. The Philippines has skillfully transformed what was once perceived as a local dispute into a multilateral cause with far-reaching implications. By leveraging its alliances and skillfully employing international law, the Philippines is far from standing alone in this complex geopolitical landscape. The world is watching the situation unfold with keen interest, and that heightened level of global attention fundamentally changes the dynamics at play. Power in the modern world isn't solely defined by military might or sheer force. It also encompasses the strategic use of diplomatic negotiations, the skillful application of international law, and the ability to garner global support for one's cause. The Philippine military's greatest asset? Its people. Generations of island life have bred unmatched local knowledge of tides, weather, and hidden routes. This expertise gives them an edge no satellite can replicate. Decades of counterinsurgency have forged a force skilled in guerrilla tactics and small unit warfare. These skills transfer to the sea hit-and-run attacks, ambushes, and using the islands as cover. The goal isn't to control the sea, but to deny it to any invader. By turning the archipelago into a maritime minefield, the Philippines can frustrate and exhaust a larger foe. Home advantage isn't just about knowing the land, it's about making every inch count. The Philippines can't match China ship for ship, so it fights smarter. Instead of big, expensive warships, it invests in asymmetric weapons like the BrahMos supersonic missile. A few well-placed missiles can threaten billion-dollar ships, creating no-go zones for adversaries. Intelligence and surveillance are force multipliers. Knowing where the enemy is means choosing when and where to fight. Fast attack craft, drones, and coastal radars form a resilient distributed defense. It's not about having the biggest hammer, but 1,000 sharp nails. This strategy forces aggressors to spread out, making them vulnerable and less effective. By maximizing every peso, the Philippines turns limited resources into outsized impact. Smart defense beats brute strength, especially at home. In modern warfare, brains often beat brawn. Technology matters, but morale is the real force multiplier. Filipino soldiers defend their own homes, families, and heritage, giving them a powerful sense of purpose. High morale means resilience, initiative, and the will to endure hardship. Invaders fight for distant objectives. Defenders fight for survival. The Philippines uses media to spotlight its stand, winning global sympathy and boosting national pride. Every act of defiance becomes a symbol, inspiring both the nation and the world. In the end, grit and pride can tip the scales. The human spirit is a weapon no one should underestimate. The Philippines isn't alone, its neighbors share the same concerns. Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and others are wary of any single power dominating the South China Sea. This shared anxiety has sparked unprecedented regional cooperation, intelligence sharing, joint patrols, and military exercises. Each partnership builds trust and sends a message. Aggression won't go unanswered. A web of alliances complicates any adversary's plans. Together, Southeast Asian nations amplify their strength and voice. For the Philippines, regional solidarity is a powerful shield. So is the Philippine military more powerful than China's? Not in raw numbers. But power isn't just about size. It's about making aggression too costly to consider. The Philippines leverages geography, alliances, local expertise, and smart strategy. It turns weaknesses into strengths, and friends into force multipliers. This isn't fantasy. It's a real-world lesson in modern defense. Smaller nations aren't helpless. They can be formidable with the right approach. The fight isn't always about the biggest dog, but the one with the most fight. The Philippines has shown it has plenty of fight. In the end, that's a power no one should underestimate. Sometimes, the underdog writes the rules.